So, hello, Maarten. I just wanted to know that what's your means background is. Background means, although I have read it, means
Mhm.
in which aspect of this cultural and identity or ideological part in terms of jewelries that you have worked more in field of research.
Yeah, I have a background in industrial design engineering, so product design basically. And next to
Ah,
that, I studied
Hello.
jewelry making.
Hello,
Hi,
ma'am.
Nantia.
So,
um,
ma'am, we are live now. So, good evening, everyone. I am Shruti Chatterjee, and I welcome you all to this panel discussion on cultural identity and ideology, curated under TMYS review in association with Center of South Asian Studies, University of Hawaii. Under this theme, TMYS Review March 2023 will explore the role of community appearance and individual presentation in shaping cultural identity and ideology. And I would also like to say that you are calling for submissions of stories,
hello.
essays, and poems. And for project architecture and submission guidelines, please
Okay.
visit our website www.tellmeyourstory.biz. Today's topic of discussion is modern jewelries versus traditional jewelries. From handmade to technology enabled, the shift in the emotional bonding with jewelry. And we are honored to have with us Dr. Sylvia Raha, Maarten Versteeg, and Dr. Nantia Koulidou as our esteemed speakers for this panelist. Thank you so much for joining us. I shall now quickly introduce our speakers. Our first speaker for tonight is Dr. Sylvia Raha. Dr. Sylvia Raha is presently working as an assistant professor in Department of Sociology at Ramaya University of Applied Sciences. She has spent a decade in academic teaching and 6 years of experience as a researcher. Her research focuses on economic sociology, cultural studies, social change, and development. Her PhD thesis was based on comparative studies of corporate branded jewelries and local hereditary jewelries. Her teaching specializes in research methods and sociological theories. Next, we have Maarten Versteeg. Maarten Versteeg obtained a master's degree in industrial design engineering at Delft University of Technology. Next to that, he was trained as a goldsmith. Jewelry plays a central role in both his professional and private life as a jewelry designer, design researcher, collector, and wearer. His research revolves around the question how technology can enhance
Oh,
and reinforce the social cultural value of jewelry.
we can see
His
and
work
hear you. Okay, I can't, but and I cannot hear you.
his work is part of the Materializing Memories research program. Ma'am, we can hear you. I guess you are having some technological difficulties. Uh, And next we have as our panelist Dr. Nantia Koulidou. I guess she's having some difficulties with her network issues. So Dr. Nantia Koulidou is a senior lecturer and course leader at BA Jewelry Material and Design at SHU. Her teaching practice introduces students to expressive and artistic way of using digital technology in jewelry practices. Her ongoing research practice is shaped by investigating how physical computing and contemporary jewelry can be combined to develop digital jewelry that are emotionally significant for people. Her recent work is autobiographical and focuses on notions of belonging and senses of places after relocation. In 2019, she awarded her PhD for her thesis, a practice led inquiry into the nature of digital jewelry, craft exploration, dialogical engagements with people. She has joined. I hope she'll be able to hear us. And so, without further delay, we shall start with our today's session. First, I'd like to request Dr. Sylvia Raha ma'am to present her views on today's topic. And I would also like to request to please mute your mics while one is speaking. And over to you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, can you
I
hear me?
think I'm back. Yeah, I think I'm back.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to request you to present your views on today's topic. So, over to you, ma'am.
No, all right. So thank you so much. Tell me your story for giving me or and this opportunity and having me here today for the panel discussion to understand that how community appearance and the individual presentations is a crucial aspect in understanding the cultural identity and ideology in terms of modern and traditional jewelries. So we know that. Jewelry is a symbol of a cultural transmission of artifacts that capture the essence of our assimilated, multicultural, heterogeneous India over the ages. Because we have seen the several form of invasions have happened in our country historically, and the design, the pattern, and the styles, and everything has been merged and has formed and one form of conglomeration of designs that we have been seeing from the past. So the question arises, as the theme says, that what distinguishes the modern from the traditional jewelry? So, if I put generally, it can be put into like this, that modern jewelries are the machine made jewelries, and these designs are in two processes. First, that by using the computer aided designs CAD, and then it will be computerized machine CAM will be used. Fine. And what about this traditional jewelries? Traditional jewelries are mostly the handmade jewelries, where you can see the freehand designs by the jewelers. The jewelry artisans, they first use the pencil and the paper to replicate or to formulate any designs. By after the designs has been formulated or had been done, then they use the traditional cast to frame the design or to formulate the jewelry. So when we look into the Indian society, we have been seen, or or according to the literary sources or the archaeological sources, that appears the visual arts that we have been seen in temples or in the books or the descriptions which has given or written in the literary sources of the design and the pattern, the styles of jewelry is concerned. um, the it is always been reflected that the uniqueness in the jewelry work of art is embedded in the context of tradition, traditional form of art, cause in forms of design styles adorning a different types forms of jewelries in different parts of the body. And it's not wearing of jewelries in the different parts of the bodies. Each jewelry have their own specific nature, and which has been proved by many recent researchers. If you see that all the parts of wearing of jewelries in the different part of the body have some scientific reason behind it. So we have been seeing that the uniqueness of jewelries in the art of work by the traditional artisans or the craftsmen is always have it's different from one another. Means if any of the person wants to replicate the same design, but although the duplication won't be there, the design may differ a little bit, cause for handmade it will keep on changing, and some changes is required when the jewelry is made in term with the hand. So the uniqueness always prevails, and as per the Benjamin's in his book, the art of mechanical reproduction. Over there, he talked about that. Yes, when we know about the handmade or the work of art, is always lies in the tradition, and much more uniqueness that and specialization we find in the traditional art forms. So now the questions are the to know about the Indian scenario, the contemporary Indian scenario, how the consumers, how the people they look jewelries. To know about this present, we know that something always as a consumers to purchase the jewelry nowadays. Something is much more important to us, and the question always, as a consumer, we always think of it that it is very much necessary that we should know about the what is the present society is giving to us, because we always think of rationality in buying the jewelries, be it a heavy light jewelry or be it a lightweight jewelry, or it is a temple jewelry, or it would be a Nepali gold jewelry, which is said to be as a 24 karat gold jewelry. So when we look into the contemporary Indian society, the present scenario, Who does not like to purchase an impressive gold jewelry which is lightweight at the same time easy on the budget? Because we have been seeing that the machine jewelries have provided such options to the consumers. For example, if I tell you to buy a 10-gram gold jewelry, if you tell the traditional hand artisans to make that jewelry, he will be making the 10-gram jewelry designs the way you actually wanted to do it. But with the same 10-gram jewelries, if you go to the corporate branded machine made jewelries, you will be seeing that the designs are more intricate and more detailed work with a huge of what I'll say the bigger in size as compared to the traditionally handmade jewelries, and which is not easy for the traditional craftsmen to achieve those form of bigger in size, more intricate designs, which made by the modern machines. It's not easy to cast in the traditional cast machines casting. So we can see that contemporary nature of the present scenario of Indian society, that is also been changing aspect and moving towards the modern jewelries, means modern jewelries in terms of machine mades. Other than this thing, when we see the Indian society, the pure gold always been seen to be as a 24 karat gold. And means the how, and we know the gold is always plays this role as a sacred because it is related to the religion. As per the Hindu Indian society is concerned, sacredness, purity, all those aspects plays a very important role. So when we see that the pure quality of the gold, I mean that's quality of the carat is also been questioned. But when we see the present contemporary market scenario, 22 carat gold has become a dominant level of buying and universal way of buying the jewelries. So, and more what we have been seeing or observing in Indian society, that now the jewelries are coming off of 18 carat, 12 carat, and 10 carat. So that determines that the gold purity or the quality of the carat is being reducing, because when the quality of the carat is reducing, automatically the price of the jewelry will be reducing. And it is very much easy for the consumers to buy the jewelries as per our dressing style concerns, the dressing pattern concerns, and we will be adorning jewelries on that basis. So, and it has also given a rise to the gifting purpose, because gifting of jewelry was always there traditionally, that we'll give to the close mates, relatives at the time of wedding or first eating ceremony of a baby and the mother. Fine. So that means it is wedding purpose, anniversary gifts, all those aspects plays a very important role where the major functions actually occurs in Indian society. But now what happened, as the quality of the carat has gone down from the 24 carat to the universally to as a 10 carat, 12 carat, uh, 18 karat gold, in that time it's became a very much friendly and approachable to buy jewelry, because gifting jewelry to the other person symbolizes a very strong connection between those particular relationship. That is that relationship can pass from one generation to the another generation, means that is unbreakable bond, the pure bond. That's why you are gifting that jewelry to the your close people. We don't give jewelry to each and everyone. So that plays a very important role in our Indian society. So what we have been seeing that yes, our perceptions of jewelry has been drastically altered by the marketing strategies of the corporate houses, where the social value of jewelry is lowered in terms of religious aspect, because nowadays the present contemporary consumer, they are not buying the jewelry to have a sacredness of a gold, and that's why we have to wear a gold jewelry to protect ourselves from the evil eyes or from the negative energy, or to buy the gold jewelry. We have been seeing that in Indian market is much more that to buy jewelry in terms of Dhanteras or Akshaya, which is the date given, the time given, where we can have to purchase all those jewelries to bring a good fortune, because it is religiously practiced that have to do. But the modern consumers, they think not by the religiously, they think it is some form of opportunity to buy a jewelry. And second, that if it brings a good luck, then why not? Very casual way, but not religiously bound. So for that aspect, we have been seen that the social value of jewelry is lowered in terms of a religious aspect, and also the rational value means nowadays consumer, they don't buy jewelry that at a certain form of security or for investment. I'm buying it, and then at the time of need I'm going to sell that jewelry and will get money on that. No, in this contemporary society, people never think of selling of the jewelry at the time of their any of the financial crunches. So for that aspect, that value has also been reducing. So but it the value of social value has increased in terms of social status. As this social status has always given much more implications in the life of the people, when the people when the consumers, they buy from the brand image. It means brand identity plays a very important role than the jewelries. And the brand is also giving you the quality of the character has gone down, means you are buying the jewelry, not the gold or the pure diamond that you are not been buying. You are buying because when we talk about a pure a diamond, that it will go for above the 5 carat, fine. But this all those diamonds that we all have been buying is the broken diamonds. So those also plays an important role in our life. So it and enhance the social status. It's enhance the social bond, because we as the price is less, that's why we gift jewelries to our own close people, friends, mates. And yes, it's have an emotional bond, cause for any of the issues, function, rituals, the jewelry plays a very important role in gifting purpose, with the message that why this particular gift has been given. And when it is add on in the body, that means there is strong connections. So when we look into this contemporary society, we are observing, other than the gold jewelry, which Indian society always give preferred the gold jewelry and the gems and the diamond jewelry. But other than this, when the topic is concerned to be as a modern jewelries and the traditional jewelries, we are also observing the traditional handmade jewelries. The coming up of handmade jewelries like dokra jewelries, terracotta jewelries, beaded jewelries, tribal jewelries made up of clothes. Fine. And in West Bengal, we see this culture is imbibing in such a way. So those cultural handmade jewelries has evolved in such a way that in many other part of the India, the exhibitions are going to buy this handmade jewelries. And these jewelries are made by the tribal people, local communities, giving them a chance in to have a greater business, to upload their business. And for the young generations are more into this handcrafted jewelries rather than the gold and silver jewelries to go for a 24 carat, because it is very budget friendly. It will go with any form of dresses, and anytime they can change it. And this to protect those jewelries means as a security that for the mishap will happen, that is also not good. And the aesthetically beautifully we look beautiful if we wear that. So demand of the handicrafted jewelry in terms of this other aspects is actually given an important aspect. So as for the today's topic is concerned, yes, the modern jewelries other than the gold, silver or the diamond jewelries, we have been seen in India also coming up of metal jewelries which is colored in a gold plated. And we have been seen in the West Bengal that it's termed to be as a city gold jewelries. So people, those who are unable to wear the expenses of buying the original gold or the other aspect, they use this modern machines jewelry, adorn their body with the same color, golden color. And that is there. So by looking into the Indian society's forum, we can actually see that modern jewelry is made up of machines, and the handicrafts jewelries which is being designed either in a form by the jewelry gold artisans or the silversmiths, or the tribal people, the local community, by using the dokra or the terracotta or the beaded jewelries. Both are going in a simultaneous phase. No one is actually overpowering the other. And for this aspect, as per the theme is concerned, uh, is there is a shift from handmade to the technology enabled, as the theme is concerned. Then sociologically speaking, or to give a sociological perspective in it, it is no, meant it isn't. Both are in the same platform. The demand and the usage of both types of jewelries are depend on the social environment, dressing pattern, fashion styles, sense of security, and etc. So I hope I have jotted down within the time given to me. You can say something about these things, Shruti.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very interesting to hear you speak and it was very engaging. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for this presentation. Next,
Thank you.
I'd like to call upon Maarten Versteeg, sir, to present your views on today's topic. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I prepared a small presentation to underpin my story, and it might be good to start with the kind of perspective that I took, which at some points differs from the previous speaker, but also I guess there are quite some overlappings there. First of all, it might be good to say that my field of study is not so much in modern jewelry as such, but in digital jewelry, with which I mean not the technology integrated in the making process, but the technology, or mostly the electronics, integrated within the jewelry piece itself. So that's what I will be talking about. Moreover, more than a commercial or a maker perspective, the perspective that I took will be more a wearer perspective. Um, and also slightly more holistic perspective on what the core of jewelry means. And that's what my presentation will be about. And then I think in the questions, we will be speaking more about the implications of that for the creation of digital jewelry. When you ask the general audience what they think jewelry is, they'll say adornment, creating something nice on our body. However, and within research that's obviously broadly known, jewelry is so much more than adornment. It's a way of protecting us from the evil, for example. It's a means to keep your wealth near to you, and indeed being able to sell it in times of need, but also showing your wealth to the rest of the world. It's a way of expressing your identity, and a way to show what social group you belong to, or what you aspire to belong to. Um, and it's a memory keeper, a memory of who you are related to, both the loved ones alive and late people, but also, for example, to places. So jewelry as a souvenir, you can say. However, I would like to take an even more holistic, or probably even existential perspective. When we zoom out, I think jewelry is about connection, um, connection to your relatives, connection to your culture, connection to higher powers, connection to previous generations, to geographical places, to, well, basically ourselves. And that's because we are in this world, and we need to find our place, our position, our um, well, what are we here for? And we can only do that through trying to find how we are connected to that place. And I think that we can look at traditional jewelry as a physical means to do so. And that's interesting, especially also because that physical aspect that is in there, because that implies a materiality, that implies a certain texture, a certain weight, a certain temperature. Um, what's in there, which make jewelry uh, that kind of treasures, you can say, and the richness and the refinement is related to that physical aspects that are in traditional jewelry. But also, it implies the relation with our body, how it both literally and mentally fits our body. And also it implies how we interact with it. The praying of the rosary, for example, is something you directly have an image about, and that part of interaction is also an important part of jewelry, I think. So when we take that idea of traditional jewelry, we then can have a look at how technology influences that and changes that, or is able to enlarge that. But to do so, we need to be aware of what technology means, what developments we have seen there. First of all, we have seen technology miniaturize. So first it became portable. Think of the Walkman, for example, and nowadays it's so far miniaturized that it can be integrated on pieces that are worn directly on our body. Secondly, the storage capacity has grown enormously over the last last decades. So where you could have one CD captured on the first MP3 players, you now have the whole world on your devices. Moreover, the functionalities has expanded enormously within wearable technology, so that one thing on your wrist can do can have all kinds of functions. And lastly, it's now no longer a standalone piece. It's constantly connected to the world, and all your information is constantly available through the World Wide Web and through the clouds. So what you see is that all kinds of tech companies, from a very technology-driven perspective, use those possibilities and create wearables, as you can see on this slide. And I don't know whether you already know notions, but I'm not talking about digital jewelry here. This is what I would call wearable technology. It's the strong technology-driven pieces. It are kind of miniaturized gadgets that do not have that materiality and that connecting power, let's say, that we or that I just outlined within traditional jewelry. So that's where the challenge, in a way, is. Moreover, we need to be aware when we start to talking about digital jewelry later on in this discussion panel. Well, the differences or the things that complicate or that are different in technology-enabled jewelry from traditional jewelry. And that are, first of all, the longevity. So the longevity of the batteries, for example, is quite a challenge. Whereas traditional jewelry is worn years and years, and sometimes from the one generation to the next generation on. We now have to deal with the longevity of the software, of the power supply, and things like that. Moreover, technology production goes on a mass scale versus the single versus the single pieces that are made by the handcraft goldsmith. And also the pace in which technology develops is quite different from the slowly but certainly developing techniques within traditional goldsmithing. And lastly, we need to be aware of the fact that wearable technology does have that physical layer, but also a digital layer to it, which where often the physical layer is a general piece mass produced, and the digital layer is something that's slowly but certainly through the use filled by the user. So, for examples, the digital photos that someone makes, or the data that someone collects, or the sounds that someone records. So. There are other aspects that we need to take into account. Later on within the discussion, I think we'll come to the topic, okay, how do the two integrate? But what I do think is useful as a last part of this presentation is give one of the examples what I do think digital jewelry could be. And that's this piece you see here. That's basically a locket designed by Karin Niemandsverdriet, one of my students. And it's a locket that does not show a picture as we know the traditional lockets, but that's able to record sounds. So it can be opened on two sides. When you open the one side to the world, it will be recording sounds. When you close it and open it to your ear on the other side of the locket, the recorded sounds will play back. And in order to navigate through the recorded sounds, you can pull through the string that's there, and then you will scroll through the different sounds that are recorded on the locket, and therewith trigger the memories and the connection to the place where it was recorded or the people that you recorded it with. I think for now this is enough input from my side for the panel discussion later on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very interesting, especially the locket that you have shown us. And now I'd like to request Dr. Nantia Koulidou to present her views on today's topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, I do also have to apologize that I don't hear anything. So I really struggle to follow, but I know you can hear me. So let's, it's interesting to feel I'm on a monologue, but we'll do the best I can. Luckily, I do know Maarten's work, and thank you, Sylvia, for your position. I tried to follow as much as I could. So I think what brought me to this sort of interesting discussion is that the topic and this idea of what do we mean by tradition. And I guess, Sylvia, you picked up on this cultural values that jewellery hold in every country, some more than others, the social value, the link to craft and handmaking, the acts of gifting and religion. So that's really important when we talk about tradition. But again, what is even more challenging to define is what do we mean by modern? And I think what is important to keep in mind is who is the audience of what do we mean by modern jewellery. So if it's people that outside the discipline of jewellery is our families and parents and consumers, modern jewellery is most of the times traditional forms of jewellery, but with gemstones and precious metals. But if we talk about people within art schools, then maybe modern jewellery is more around the boundaries of the discipline. And if we think about contemporary jewellery in the 60s, 70s onwards, it was when new materials were introduced at the time, which was plastic, nylon, aluminium, and that was modern jewellery at the time. So if we think about materials and new ways of making, maybe modern jewelry nowadays would be that understanding of digital as a new tool, as a new material that we embed within our jewelry practices. So I think I just want to, I guess, open to that discussion that this aspect of modern, it requires us to consider who are we talking to when we think about modern jewelry. And I guess my sort of expertise or area of interest is this idea of modern jewelry around digital technology. And I'm sure Maarten might have already discussed that in his presentation. That is the idea of embedding and electronics and looking within wearables. I do have a few slides also just to show you a few images. I don't know if I can share, I'll try in a bit, but it's also a way of thinking of digital as a tool. That we're most familiar with 3D modeling and 3D printing and digital fabrication. And then it's also the even more modern aspect of digital technology within jewelry, which is around filters, for example, in Instagram or NFTs or objects that only exist in a digital sphere. So I think this is idea, in my opinion, of what do we actually understand by modern jewelry. But what is also another aspect that I want to put on the table is the value of craft. And what Mike Press in 1993 is a theorist around craft. He talked about craft and the value of craft knowledge in the digital era. So there's something really valuable about crafting a physical object with I guess, electronics and technology, by using that values that a craft person has, or a craftsman, a craft person, a craft woman, yeah, which is that link to the handmade, the link to bespoke. And that lets me to think about the valuable applications of technology, the personalized objects that have in one way or another, technology as a material or as a process. It's really interesting to think about that bespokeness and uniqueness of modern jewelry in the digital era. But again, we have to be quite careful in what do we mean by that, because if we think about 3D modeling and 3D design and printing, tools such as parametric and 3D modeling and 3D printing with wax, now it allows us to create those bespoke and personalized objects. But is that crafted object when the hand is no longer there? And that leads me to the next, I guess, point, which is who is designing these objects? Is it jewelers, or are we talking about just technicians who can use 3D modeling software, or big companies who can design the technology? So I'm very much interested to see what is the role of a jeweler in that space of, I guess, modern current jewelry. I lost you all. I don't know if you can hear me or see me. I guess
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can.
We can hear
Okay.
you and see you.
Okay, so I think maybe I will pause here because I've already discussed this sort of value of audience, of materials, of context. So what we need to discuss, if we're talking about Indian culture and traditional jewelry and modern jewelry, is very different from we were talking about the context of Greece, that is still very linked to tradition. But in the UK, for example, things are very different, and the discipline is really struggling to see that modern sort of aspect. I think by thinking that just a small group of people in art schools trying to design and form the field, it has impact, I guess, in the discipline, but not so much in people's lives. So I'll just pause there, and hopefully we can have a more open discussion around those topics.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very interesting and engaging as well. So, with this, we now move on to our question and answer round for today's segment. So, my first question is to Dr. Sylvia Raha, ma'am. I don't know if she's, ma'am, can you see us and hear us? Yes, ma'am. So, my first question to you is, symbols found in Indian jewelry act as a metaphorical language communicated from a wearer to the viewer. How do you think jewelry is able to make a spiritual connection, especially women in traditional era? Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and this question is very interesting because when Indian society is concerned, and when jewelry is much more being taken for it, jewelry is always been seen in the form of knowing the Indian gold jewelry, because gold is associated with religion, and it's connected with goddess Lakshmi, it is connected with Kuber, it is connected with the purity, sacredness. So, and as it is connected with the religion, automatically in the traditional era, or if I say not traditional era, if I say that 3 generation back, means if I talk about my grandmother also, they have a very strong feelings and associated that the jewelry plays a very important and the spiritual role as per the symbol is concerned. I'll just give you the 2 examples for it, how it played during that time. We know this is a symbol which has always been there in modern days. We say this is a symbol of love. We know about it. Fine. And we have been seeing this design of love is always been there in the form of pendant, earrings, or any part of the jewelry design that we've been seeing it. But when we see the traditional symbolic meaning of this is it's related with the betel leaf, the pan, which we say, that betel leaf and erica nut. So betel leaf plays a very important role in terms of religion that we give, in terms of wedding, in any form of religious practices. That was a material that is sacred in nature, because it protects the people from the evilness. It is a sacred, because if you consume the betel leaf, that is also going to take care of your health in some aspects. So betel leaf plays a very important role. So for that aspect, what happened, gold is also related with the sacred metal, which make you pure. Means if you have done any of the thing, touch gold, then everything will be good thing will happen to you. So for that aspect, and adorning of jewelry plays a very important aspect. So it was not, means previously some conception was there, if you wanted to travel at night during the traditional time, then that you should carry betel leaf with you. Fine, so that you will be protected from the evil spirits or the negative eye. That the people, if they are jealous, then they will give you a negativity, and then something bad is going to happen. Some form of superstitious belief, if it is there. So it is not possible for to carry the betel leaf every time when you are moving out at midnight. So for that reason, and for the lower caste categories, to have the betel leaf also every time to buy or to have it, or to for the traveling person, that is not easy for them. So what the jewelers they have done, they have taken the gold which is automatically protecting the people, and has imbibed that betel leaf design, the shape which is having some leaf, and in every part of the gold jewelry, because people they adorn a jewelry, so automatically gold is also protecting you, and the symbol of the betel leaf is also protecting you. So the symbols plays a very important role in terms of designings of traditional jewelry design styles and pattern is concerned. We can see in earring, bangles, waist chain, anklet, everywhere we can see that the symbols of present symbolic meaning is love, but previously their symbolic meaning was that the betel leaf or pan, what we see. The similar form of symbols that another examples is that paddy plays a very important role, and or the rice plant is a symbol of prosperity and the wealth. And when we think of paddy, it is also symbolically represents with the goddess Lakshmi, means they will give you dhan, wealth to you. Fine, so it is already there. So what we have been seeing, that as paddy in how they have incorporated the paddy into the jewelry design. Because the V-shaped, any form of V-shaped in the bangles, or any aspect of paddy shaped of style of the design which is there, that symbolizes, that is a symbol of a paddy. That means if you wear that with the gold jewelry, then it will bring wealth to you, prosperity will happen, goddess Lakshmi is with you, fertility will happen, prosperities will happen. So in traditional era, the jewelry designs were incorporated, especially with the gold jewelries, because it have a strong connection with the sentiments, belief, culture, and their way of living. So it was there. And if I say the present scenario of Indian society, the symbols remain the same, but the meaning changes from betel leaf to it has a symbol of love, so heart shape. So both the heart are connected to each other. So in this way, yes, symbols plays a very important role in jewelry designing. Even then and present now, they have a different symbolic meaning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is very interesting. Symbolism plays a very essential role in our entire culture, I guess. So,
Mhm.
my next question is for Martin Versteeg, sir. Sir, many current wearables have a technology driven background. The focus is primarily on functionality, while their possible person and social cultural value is underappreciated. How do you think social culture can be defined through modern jewelry? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Well, that's an interesting question, of course. Um, and I think the answer is not in what we see happening now in the market, which, as I already mentioned in my presentation, are basically miniaturized gadgets with no attention to the materiality of the piece, and no attention to the interaction with the piece. I mean, if we're used from gadgets to have buttons to interact with the piece, you cannot automatically put it on the body and do that with buttons as well. So the kind of things that, and there is no, I don't have the answer yet. Let's say, or a complete answer yet. But I think where we need to look is, how do we interact with traditional jewelry, and how can we translate that as a means to interact with digital jewelry? So, for example, what you just saw in the locket that I presented, to go through the different sound fragments, there are no buttons or such. You have that string that you pull through the hole, and there you scroll through the different sound fragments, and that refers to, and I guess we all know it, the pendants that you have on your necklace, and that you keep playing with, as one example. Another example that we designed is a pair of bracelets for people in love. Um, they both wear it. They are digitally connected through the internet, but it's not like I put it or whatever, and my partner is gets a vibration or whatever through the bracelet. That would be way too explicit. The interaction with jewelry is way more implicit. So what we then developed for that concept is, nothing happens when I'm playing with the bracelet. Nothing happens when my partner is playing with the bracelet. Only if we happen to play at the same moment with the bracelet, then there is a connection established, and you feel both a vibration, sort of serendipity that you then get there, and that communication then isn't like I start talking to the bracelet, and the bracelet of my partner starts talking to him or her. No, it's just that vibration, just that small reminder of the other one, instead of the very explicit communication piece, because for that we have telephones and whatever, and that's not the kind of communication that fits the concept of jewelry, let's say. So I think we need to look for ways of interacting that we know from traditional jewelry, but we also need to look for the subtlety of the messages there. It's not that because we can or because technology can, we have to use it all. We have to be aware of, let's say, the poetic value and the symbolic value, and see how jewelry or technology enables us to enlarge it and add that basically to traditional jewelry, instead of well, put in the full technology and losing the refinement of jewelry, I would say. So far.
Thank you so much, sir. It was
You're
really
welcome.
interesting. So my next question is for Dr. Nantia Koulidou, ma'am. Uh, Jewelries have always been historical witness of its era. Do you think in today's technology made jewelry will be able to provide the same value to its consumer as handmade jewelry? Ma'am, can you
Right, thank
hear
you.
us?
So as I said, we need to first understand what do we mean by technology, but or what aspect of technology we are talking about. And as I said earlier, if we think about there's one aspect to think about it as 3D modeling and 3D printing, but I guess the area where I'll try to answer that question is around interactive objects and sort of this area of wearables, which I'm sure Maarten might have covered, but I'm really sorry I couldn't hear his answer. And I think if we try to understand the value of the handmade, thinking about bespoke, personalized, the imperfections of the hand, the craft and the time invested in making, but also the time that you can see invested in the form of the piece. The symbolism in the form as well that is so embedded in what do we mean by jewellery. Then if we take those values of the handmade and we try to embed some of them, most of them, when we're designing technological objects, then I would say then we can do it. So that we can take some of those values that we associate with handmade jewellery and think of technological, digital, interactive objects that have similar values. That is something we are not quite there yet, because when we think about technological interactive objects, often they don't embody these values. But I think my suggestion to young designers or academics like ourselves is to try to understand these values first and see how we can implement or embed and embody them in technological objects. Then the answer is yes, we can, but it takes consideration, thought, and practice.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And my next question is for Dr. Sylvia Raha, ma'am. Change is in the air, partly as a result of shifting societal norms and expansion of women's role in the workplace, as well as the rising price of gold here and recent changes in the consumer tax on luxuries. How do you think jewelries have evolved then versus now, according to the needs? Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, this is another very interesting questions. The change has happened drastically. The previously the jewelries. If I give much more importance to Indian jewelry, I will be talking about the gold jewelry embedded with the gems or diamond jewelry. So the people during that time, or then and now, if I say, they used to buy jewelry for the social security, because it is always been said that the woman's position, or the woman what I'll say, property is always the movable property, and that is jewelry, and that goes with the wedding thing. Fine, not the property of land. So that was there, and that was her right to do whatever she wanted to do with the jewelry. fine. So that gives a social security, not only economically, but also it gives a social security in that particular family also. How much jewelry weight that I am bringing from my father's family, or how much wedding jewelry that I have got it. And this was one. Another part is that previously jewelries was also related with the dowry aspect. Then third is that jewelry is also related with the what I'll say means position of woman in in-laws family. Means, okay, the eldest brother's wife has brought this much, so his position, position will be higher. Or if the younger brother's daughter, means wife, sorry, has brought this amount of money, then her position will be little bit of higher than that. So the position, your opinion, women's opinions, and everything was depends on this jewelry. Then it was still there, that as in the form of investment, that in the terms of financial need, the jewelry will be sell, and we will be taking care of our financial need. So what happened, this aspect of investment which was there previously is not at all prevalent. Means, I'm not saying that it has gone completely, but the people, they do not buy, the today's contemporary consumers, the millennials if I talk about, then they don't buy the jewelry for investment per se. While buying jewelry, they don't think, okay, this much I should buy, and then in future if thinking I can sell it off. No, this perception never comes to the present consumers. When I have studied the consumer perception of buying jewelries over there, so that lacks. They do buy, okay, when that time will come, but the practicality says that if I need money, I will take a loan for it. But yes, if I talk about Indian situation, a drastic thing that happened in 2016, that is demonetization time. During that month, the people, they realized that when the cash is not been, when the people were unable to take the cash from the bank or the post office, or long queue were there, many problems were coming up. In that time, the lower class people or the needy people, when they were unable to go to the those banks and all, fine, after 2 or 3 days, they automatically, they have gone to the traditional jewelers, not the branded corporate one. They have gone to the traditional jewelers. They kept their jewelries over there, and in return they have taken the value of the gold as a cash. So that means, which perception which was not there in 2016, that was fading away, but then